My name is Brandon, and today I want to talk about speed rounds, a game mode that works with any number of players and requires absolutely no setup at all. The basic premise of speed rounds is very straightforward. Players are grouped up, typically in a line, off of the field. A moderator of some type will then release players in groups back onto the field. When a player is hit with a dart or otherwise tagged out, they return to the back of the line. And then that continues. You just keep releasing players in groups, forming little ad hoc teams, and they try to eliminate each other. So for example, if you have 4 players, A, B, C, and D, because their parents are very unoriginal, A and B might be released onto the field. After a few moments, the moderator will then let the next team of 2 out, which would be C and D. A tags D, and D returns to the back of the line. At another point, C takes revenge for D's slaying and tags out A. Now D and A are in line, and after a period of time, the moderator will release them onto the field, and now A and D are a team. So basically, it is a active rolling squad system where people are just grouping up, trying to tag each other, getting back in line and doing it again. And the waves part is important. You have to make sure there's enough time elapsing between releasing your players because you're releasing them from the same spot. So if you just say like, go, 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 then they're just gonna shoot each other in the back instantly. And I mean, that might be fun too, but just space them out. And you might say, that sounds too simple and chaotic. Won't people forget what team they're on? How do you keep track of what's going on? And the answer is that you kind of don't. The main goal of a game like speed rounds is before a match actually starts or during a lunch break when some of your players are gone, but some of them came back and you don't just want to sit around. It's a very quick and easy way to say, hey, you people, let's go do something with some degree of structure. And you just play until you're tired of doing it, people kind of filter out, or you've elapsed enough time to get to whatever you were waiting for. It's also just something that's a little bit fun and different because it's essentially an elimination game type, but because it's so rapid, it's just, you're getting out there, you're getting eliminated quickly, you're coming back. You don't have to really worry about how much ammunition you have on you. It's a good chance to maybe use another blaster that you want to experiment with, but don't really want to risk losing a match using. It's just something that's kind of lighthearted and fun. And it works really well no matter how many players you have. If you have 30 or 40 players in a line, well, then you'd probably play something more organized. But if you're doing this anyways, you release them in groups of 6 or 8. Although I would recommend at least doing pairs because that sort of instant team camaraderie sort of feel really adds to the dynamic and the feel of the game mode. And if you're kind of on your own, it's just a really slow free-for-all it's fine. This is also a great game mode to play at the beginning of an event because it's a warm-up, it gets you moving, you get to test your blaster, it's a good just sort of pre-flight checklist sort of thing. But also it's a way of somewhat socializing your players, especially if you have newer people at the event, because you're pairing them into random groups with people that may not normally play together, and they get to kind of interact in a low effort way. They don't have to have a conversation, but they're playing together, so it helps. It's also very simple, again, to explain to your players. You just tell them, get in a line, we're gonna let you out. If you get shot, come back. For somebody who's brand new and doesn't really know anything, that's all they have to understand, and it's easy to grasp. And you can do all kinds of cool variations. I've seen people do battle royale type setups where players are still released in waves, but once they're eliminated, they come back to the line and they stay there until only one team remains. Then you let everybody out again in waves. I've also seen people do a King of the Hill type setup where they'll have a cone or some other way of marking a region, and the player teams that are released have to occupy that region for some amount of time, whatever works for you. This works better with slightly larger teams like 6s because you have to have enough people that they can actually hold the zone and still lose some players, but still kind of defend it to the last man. And when you have 3s and 4s, it's a lot easier to just have everybody get wiped out kind of all at once. In a smaller area, this is also a good time to use the pistols only sort of rule set, where players have to use a single-handed semi-automatic blaster that can only hold, say, 6 rounds or some other arbitrary cap. That way the power scales are lowered and it's not quite as chaotic. And since it's a less serious mode, this is also a good time to maybe do a stock only round where you can only use non-modified blasters, meaning your ranges are most likely severely hampered and you have to basically run up on people to tag them, which is also a good way of equalizing the field if you have a decent number of players who don't have modified blasters. And that's it. You get people in a line, you let them out in groups, you watch them blast each other. It's great fun. You do it all again. If you've played speedruns before, I would love to hear about your experiences with the mode, if you enjoyed it or not and why, as well as any variations that your club might do for whatever specific reasons. This video is now longer than a game of speedruns, so share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you next week.